Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel.
It all started on a sunny summer day in 2009 when three separate packages arrived on the doorsteps of the Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, and Disney Studios. They were anonymous packages with no postmarks or return addresses. No one saw them being delivered, and each had only a simple note attached which read, "I have created something I love. From me to you, Bad Mouse." Strange, but the recipients decided to humor the packages anyway, thinking it was fan mail or something of the sort. When they were opened, they revealed several videotapes. They all had titles hastily scribbled on: Bad Mouse Episode 1, Bad Mouse Episode 2, and so on. There were 13 in total, the last of which had an additional notation reading, "This is the last." As to the contents of the tapes, they contained what everyone assumed to be Bad Mouse, who was a mouse sock puppet, complete with two large ears, eyes, and buck teeth, all clearly made with paper. But it had arms that were clearly stitched on in post, and a cartoony tail that did not match the rest of the sock puppet. All of the tapes were in black and white and had very simple premises. In a high-pitched and nasally voice, Bad Mouse talked about numbers, the alphabet, animals, colors, and other really straightforward topics. They were only about 4 or 5 minutes long each, with no background music, title cards, or anything, just Bad Mouse talking. Nothing was too unusual or frightening about the show, so to speak. Clearly, it was done on a very low budget, but what exactly was the point of it? It surely would not entertain anyone over the age of 3. Some dismissed it as some kind of stupid prank, while others joked that whoever delivered these tapes to the studios was banking on Bad Mouse being made into an actual show. Unfortunately, that was not how it worked, and after all the episodes were viewed and everyone got a good laugh at someone's pitiful attempt at stardom, the episodes were all dismissed and promptly canned, though there were some who found Bad Mouse to be unsettling and creepy, but they would never bring that up in front of their colleagues. That was supposed to be the end of it. But just 1 week later, more packages arrived, with the note now reading, "From me to you, Bad Mouse." The "I have something I love" being notably omitted. Inside the packages were 13 tapes, just like last time. And when everyone gathered to watch them, they were actually surprised. While each episode was about the same length as before, the show actually had color, plots, music, title cards, more sock puppet characters, and environments, though it was still clearly made on the smallest ounce of a budget. The visuals and effects were shoddy at best. Whoever was voicing Bad Mouse clearly voiced the other sock puppet characters. There was a strange hum of static in the background, and occasionally a loud beeping noise came from out of nowhere and bloodied the ears of all who heard it. Needless to say, it was not nearly enough to convince the executives to even fathom the idea of greenlighting it, and Nickelodeon, Disney, and Cartoon Network all tossed the tapes into the garbage. "Bad Mouse is getting desperate," a Nickelodeon executive quipped after sipping his coffee. Was that the end of it? Everyone thought so until another week had passed, and 3 more packages just bearing the words "Bad Mouse" arrived at each studio, and all 3 went straight to the trash can. However, a curious Cartoon Network intern secretly fished their package out of the trash. He had heard of Bad Mouse's depravity from his colleagues, and as an avid collector of lost and unknown media on the side, this would be absolutely perfect for him. He took the tapes home and immediately popped them into his old VCR. Judging by the small increase in quality in the second round of packages, the intern assumed that whoever was behind Bad Mouse had finally learned their lesson. But each tape showed a disturbing clip of the same thing. No color, no plots, no music, no title cards, no other characters, and no environments. Just Bad Mouse sitting motionless and staring straight at the camera. Every 30 seconds or so, the sock puppet would say the words, "getting desperate," but only in syllables. Getting desperate. The intern did not scare too easily, and he did not think much of it other than it being pretty odd. Shrugging, he popped the tapes out of the old VCR, placed them with his other tapes in DVDs he had acquired throughout the years, and went to bed. No more packages showed up after that. No more tapes. No more Bad Mouse. The whole ordeal seemed to be over. And it was. Until about a year later, when Nickelodeon, Disney, and Cartoon Network's channels were all hijacked. By this point, everyone had basically forgotten about Bad Mouse. It was now just a fleeting memory of some desperate and depraved soul thinking they would make it big. Something to bring up if you wanted to point and laugh. But the first signs of trouble were on Nickelodeon, specifically Nick Jr. The characters Moose and Z had in-between blocks where they provided information and education between shows. On the morning of July 12, 2010, a segment where Moose was supposed to teach the audience about names was hijacked by none other than Bad Mouse. In the middle of speaking, Moose went frozen and silent. The music cut out, and the screen glitched until Bad Mouse was there for the entire world to see. Though no one watching at home could recognize what they were seeing, the network executives certainly did. Bad Mouse spoke to a bunny character, which was clearly just a stuffed animal and was aptly named Bunny, about the importance of sharing. The mouse sock puppet ripped a toy truck out of Bunny's hands and ran away laughing. And Bunny just stood there, staring at the camera for about a minute. After that, it switched to a scene of Bad Mouse riding a little bike through a very poorly made cardboard field. A kindergarten play could create better sets than Bad Mouse ever could. He sang this song that sounded like complete nonsense in a voice that would make ears bleed. "That petty asshole," said one network executive. It seemed that if they did not air Bad Mouse, then Bad Mouse was just going to do it themselves. The network executives were too embarrassed to simply power down the channel over what was definitely a stupid prank. They thought just slapping the technical difficulties screen on it would do the trick every time, but that did not stop Bad Mouse. For the next 2 weeks, all the shows on air were cut off, and the broadcast became a mess due to Bad Mouse jumbling everything up. Bad Mouse would always return, just playing the same 13 crappy episodes on repeat. Calls were made by angry parents and their confused children, and each channel promised to resolve the issues, but they never could. While all 3 channels were determined to solve the issues in the grand scheme of things, no one took them that seriously. They came off as more annoying than anything. Nickelodeon, Disney, and Cartoon Network made it absolutely clear that this was not their doing and that their broadcasts had been hijacked, and they did not know who it was or where it was coming from. With those statements out to linger in the air, the internet began to fill with rumors and speculation. Everyone was curious about the problems their children's channels were having. There were still people assuming it was just a very clever prank and was the work of people who had nothing better to do but get a rise out of these channels and their viewers. Others had darker theories. Many of them poked and made fun of for being just as stupid as Bad Mouse itself, ranging from Bad Mouse being the work of a disgruntled employee, an artificial intelligence, a paranormal phenomenon, aliens, or some kind of supernatural or superhuman entity. In today's world, we are all pretty cynical and seem to disregard more dramatic notions because it does not align with our short-ordered view of reality. Despite the many rumors, as July came to a close, things seemed to be getting better. By then, the executives at Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, and Disney had found a way to block out all the messaging and instead broadcast either a default bumper or a continuous feed of static for the channels until they could figure out the issue. As a result, the hijackings had slowed down significantly. They defeated Bad Mouse. By September 1st, there was no more hijackings at all, so it seemed that Bad Mouse had simply moved on to other things. Everyone was relieved, but there was still the occasional hushed murmur that whoever was behind these hijackings would be back, because clearly, Bad Mouse seemed like a persistent weirdo. Some even went so far as to say that Bad Mouse would bring violence with it, which was laughed off as completely and utterly ridiculous. How very wrong those people were. For a long time, there was nothing like before. All of it was the calm before the storm, and boy, did it storm. 2011 was coming and going, with nothing unusual happening. SpongeBob cooked Krabby Patties, Mickey Mouse took us on adventures around his clubhouse, and The Amazing World of Gumball was premiering its first season to massive success. Even the once active internet forums were completely empty, with Bad Mouse just being touted as a fun, if bizarre, little piece of lost media that was stuck in the past. All was well until the summer arrived. There were so many more hijackings. All three networks were affected. Instead of just being Bad Mouse episodes, they were much more disturbing. Each one lasted anywhere from 15 minutes to a full hour, depending on the severity, and each one was worse than the last. Beginning the same way, either flickering, frames repeating themselves, sound not syncing up, waving and jittering, or random pauses, something would always happen. Sometimes the screens would be replaced with deeply disturbing edits of whatever character was on screen, often making them appear angry at the audience. Sometimes the screen would fade into bloodied static for a few moments, then go right back to normal programming. Sometimes random images and videos would flash on the screen, such as pictures of the White House on fire, footage of mice, someone walking outside at night, and random YouTube videos. But there was also disturbing imagery of people being tortured, mutilated, beheaded, people being shot at point-blank range, and even all manners of illegal pornography. Sometimes an extremely loud beeping sound would bloody the ears of all who heard it, not unlike what was said in the first Bad Mouse videotapes, blocking out everything that was being said. Sometimes vague or threatening messages were displayed, such as, "I'm here. Is it getting desperate? I hate you all. I have to get attention. I'm desperate. You love me, but I don't love you. Bad Mouse is getting desperate. I'm going to show you the world. Bad Mouse is getting worse. Me. Attention." Some even claim to see images of Bad Mouse himself in the background of scenes of terror and bloodshed, though those were usually not very clear. Occasionally, a clip of Bad Mouse would be shown and then just disappear. All of this was absolutely chilling, especially considering it was shown to young children, but it was far from over. During a hijacking of Mickey Mouse Clubhouse on the morning of July 25th, a message from Bad Mouse claimed that August 12th would be Death Day. Everyone's blood ran cold. What did Bad Mouse mean? No one could know, but the message was already out there, so everyone braced for the worst. Nickelodeon, Disney, and Cartoon Network executives were all in a panic. They cut all broadcasts, including off-air and live shows, and immediately called up their network technicians. To everyone's horror, the technicians were unable to locate the origin of the hijackings. They could find no source. No one was even able to log into the programming or mess with the technical equipment, and no technician was able to determine the cause. There was no foreign software or anything of the sort. Security cameras showed no suspicious activity. Arguments ensued, fingers were pointed, hard-working employees were fired without warning, and the situation looked grimmer and grimmer. This was an all-out war, and no one knew why it was happening or how to stop it. By August, the situation had spiraled out of control. It was no longer just a technical issue, but an outright attack on the three major children's networks. The situation spiraled into full chaos, with Bad Mouse still unstoppable and the network still in chaos. By now, all the technicians who were responsible for maintaining these networks and getting them up and running had been fired, leaving all the channel's executives at a loss of what to do. All they could do was wait and see. On August 12th, the atmospheres at the three studios were tense. They made the conscious decision to stay open, not wishing to appear weak or stupid, and wanting to show Bad Mouse that they were not afraid of it. Their broadcasts of beloved children's shows began as normal. For a while, everything actually seemed relatively normal. No hijackings happened yet, but just as everyone at the studios were beginning to think that they might be okay, something happened. A massacre of unimaginable brutality, a tragedy of such a scale that the world would never be the same again. In a little over half an hour, 6 napalm bombs went off, 2 at each studio. In the blink of an eye, 115 people were dead and hundreds more were injured. They came out of nowhere, with no warning and no way to tell who, what, or where they came from. One Nickelodeon employee, Mike Ewart, was speaking with a colleague near the front doors. One moment, she was laughing and smiling, sipping her Starbucks coffee, and the next she was completely and utterly obliterated. Ewart said that it was like slow motion. I saw her body just vaporize. I felt her warmth just vanish. I felt her coffee splash on me. I was just numb. The police found a lone Bad Mouse sock puppet lying amongst the rubble at the Disney studio, charred and damn near impossible to identify what it even was. That was all they had to go on for physical evidence, besides the bombs themselves, which were found to be homemade devices filled with both black powder and a highly flammable petrochemical substance, both of which were placed in 3-gallon plastic gas containers. Each one was placed in dense areas within each target to maximize the death toll. A task force of hundreds of police officers from all over the country and federal agencies converged on all 3 studios. Thousands of leads were investigated, and they all came up empty. No one saw any suspicious activity at any time in any of the studios, and no one knew who could have or would have done such a horrific thing. FBI analysts even took a look at the original tapes, the ones that were rejected by the 3 studios, to see if there was something they missed. Still, nothing. All 3 targets were devastated, but the Nickelodeon building received the greatest damage, with 3/5 of the building destroyed. Much of the buildings were rendered uninhabitable by the immense heat and force of the explosions, and while they have since been repaired and remodeled, the damaged portions have been sealed off and turned into memorials. The perpetrator behind Bad Mouse is a mystery. No suspects or leads were ever found. Clearly, they were a lunatic with an insane dream that they wanted to see realized, who wanted to make a big impact on the world.